And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. We've got new sunspots. We're going to show you some coronal mass ejections, as well as a 6 magnitude earthquake near the California-Nevada border. First, we've got the sun in colorized magnetogram and ionized iron in 171 angstroms from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. To see a new sunspot group, right down here. Also, we saw a C-class flare happen up here from sunspot 2840 while we did show prep. We'll get to it momentarily. First, let's take a look at the viewpoint from Lagrangian point 5 and see what stereo A's been seeing. And what stereo A's been seeing is some coronal mass ejections. So that was a pretty slow-moving and long-lasting coronal mass ejection there. You can see it started late in the day on the 7th, continued throughout most of the day yesterday, and is finally subsiding now. This has reduced the likelihood of coronal mass ejections a bit. By the way, that's not an Earth-facing coronal mass ejection. It's in the Earth vicinity, but not directly Earth-facing. Let's show you the view from Lagrangian point 1, the location of the LASCO C3. So here's the LASCO C3. And you can see all of the ejecta here headed out to the west, a prime example of a light show without any sort of a geo-effective component. Quite a slow-moving coronal mass ejection there as well. And continuing on with some more imagery of the closest star. Here's ionized helium from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. And here's the solar intensitygram, which will show you the birth of sunspot 2841, I believe is going to be the number of this one. And we'll zoom in a little bit down here on the southeastern corner. It is a beta-class sunspot group already. Here's a diagram of the solar system. Happy new moon. And there's where things will be in a week. The radio flux has dropped all the way down to 73. Expect to see that come up rather promptly here. And there's the 1-year chart of that. The black line is the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. The red line is the sunspot number. No solar storms or geomagnetic unrest forecasted at the moment, although we are expecting some geo-effective wind from a coronal hole wind stream. We'll get to that momentarily. First, global seismicity. As the 7 magnitude earthquake drought continues here. This is a 90-day bar graph. Largest quake of the past 24, I believe, was this one here. A 6.0 magnitude south of Colville, California here. It is in the Little Antelope Valley near the California-Nevada border. Leave us a comment if you felt that quake. Shout out to Smash Staff's mom. And let's go back to the list. By the way, that happened late last night. 22:49 Universal Time was the time of that 6 magnitude quake. We also saw a deep quake in Afghanistan in the past 24. That was earlier yesterday. 4.9 magnitude quake at a depth of 176 kilometers. So the Philippines, Peru, and Macquarie Island all saw 5+ magnitude quakes. All in a pretty short period of time, too, within a half an hour of each other. 10:09, 10:30, and 10:34. 3 5 magnitude quakes. And then less than an hour later, another 5 magnitude quake. So 4 or 5 magnitude quakes, all in different parts of the world there, happening within barely an hour. A little uptick there in seismicity. Some small deep quakes around Alaska as well. All at low magnitudes. China also saw a 5.1 magnitude quake. Some Oklahoman shaking going on there. 3.0 magnitude and a 2.7 in Oklahoma. El Salvador and Chile also saw some 5 magnitude quakes, so we're seeing a little bit of a seismic uptick here. And we're going to see a lot of quakes on the list here as a result of aftershocks from that 6.0 in Antelope Valley. At least one of the 4 aftershocks was a 5.2 magnitude. And we're going to accelerate the scrolling of the list here a little bit. We don't want the video to be too long. There's a deep quake at Papua New Guinea at a 4.7 magnitude. A 5.4 on the Pacific and Antarctic Ridge. So a significant seismic uptick here. Timor-Leste saw a deep quake, a 4.5 magnitude at over 440 kilometers depth. Little bit of a seismic uptick. Let's hope these aren't foreshocks, folks. But in any case, back to the bar graph here. I just want to reiterate this. Major earthquake drought. Look how few 7 magnitude quakes we've had in the past 90 days. If you're in an earthquake-prone zone, be prepared. Earthquake droughts end in large earthquakes. Look at how many 7 magnitude quakes we saw in 2020. It's a massive earthquake drought. Let's see what's going on with volcanism, and it's a downtick. So while we see Mount Etna performing some lava fountaining, the list has shrunk a little bit today. So Etna lava fountaining there. Suwanosejima exploding, producing a 10,000-foot ash plume, and a new volcano on the list, Bagana, on Bougainville Island in Papua New Guinea. They're north of Australia, exploding, flight level 060. It's producing a 6,000-foot ash plume. Also Fuego exploding, producing a 15,000-foot ash plume over Guatemala. Sabancaya exploding, producing a 23,000-foot plume of volcanic ash over Peru. Please do not pole vault the caldera. Please do pick up some merch. Head to smAshomash.com. Click on the Smash merch link or the Smash store or perhaps the smAsho store and support the channel that way. Pick up some gear, as this public service message is brought to you at massive personal risk and expense from smAshomash.com. Please do not pole vault the caldera. So here's the C-class flare that we saw, this solar flare, in the form of X-ray protons. That's what we're talking about. X-ray photons. That's what we're talking about when we say a solar flare. X-ray photons. A large C-class flare occurred while we did show prep. It's the largest of the past 3 days. That's the 3-day chart. No spikes in the proton flux. No surprises to the channel there. Here's the GOES magnetometer over the past 3 days. And let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet. The top view ecliptic plane field plot shows us things like polarity of the current sheet as well as plasma concentrations. You can see these bunched up lines right over here. Those are areas of dense plasma in the corona, which are affecting the measurement of the potential field surface source lines. This data is derived from 51 ground-based magnetometers as well as magnetometers on stereo A and stereo B, located out there at Lagrange point 5 and 4 respectively. Earth is in a south pole current sheet quite solidly right now. No changes to that expected to come anytime soon. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change with no warning. Here's another view of the same data from the line of sight perspective. North pole polarity shown in green, south pole in red. Here's the line of sight coronal hole plot, and we've got a large, well-defined south pole oriented coronal hole rotating into the Earth-facing zone here. So we can expect a coronal hole wind stream from that in about 3 or 4 days. It's looking pretty well defined here, and here's another view of that, as well as detected sunspot groups. We're not even seeing a detection of this group down here yet. It's going to be known as Sunspot 2841. It looks like we have some polaric oddities happening in here. Check it out. It's showing up as a south pole and then suddenly a north pole oriented coronal hole. That's kind of strange. It certainly looks South Pole oriented to me. What do you think? Leave us a comment and let us know. Global geomagnetism currently at a KP of 2. The KP index of measurement of global geomagnetism. Geomagnetic calm conditions. Let's take a look at the real-time solar wind next. Pretty uneventful here over the past 24. A little uptick in the solar wind speed is about all there is to report on, really. Current solar wind speed 330 kilometers per second. Current solar wind density 6.38 protons per cubic centimeter. Here's a geospace magnetosphere movie, 4 hours of data of magnetohydrodynamic pressure surrounding planet Earth. And we see the primary pressure here on the magnetotail side, not the sun-facing side of the planet. And it looks pretty steady and homogeneous here over the past, well, at least pretty steady over the past 4 hours. Next, we'll look at ground magnetic perturbations, geospace delta B. Since we're living a polar excursion, I like to look at this data daily, as it helps me to debunk nonsense, and it perhaps is showing some stuff nobody else is showing. Anyway, the daily space weather videos show this regularly. Perturbations on the ground, changes to Earth's B field. By the way, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to press like and subscribe on YouTube. I guess we need your assistance to get the videos out there, as let's just say the algorithms have been less than helpful. Also, we've got 500 subscribers now on BitChute. Look for a BitChute exclusive coming soon. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Check out our links. Check out our homepage, smashomash.org. We'll redirect you here to smashomash.com. You can find our social media as well as links to our merch shops and our forum. Today's featured product is the Vaccinate This leggings. Since your vaccination status is none of my business and mine is none of yours, I'll just show this. Yeah. And if you click on smAsho merch, you'll find the Redbubble shop, which has got 7 different products. Perhaps check those out, and thanks to everybody who has. And let's do a brief cosmology segment. Today's cosmology segment starting out with NASA's astronomy picture of the day, which is of Galaxy M82. So this is an interesting one for various reasons. One of them is because of supernova 2014J. So this galaxy did host a supernova. It's got a supernoval remnant cloud in it. And you're looking at it in multiple wavelengths here. So the most important one that I would note here would be the pink. That is the hydrogen. And you can see the hydrogen appears to be blasting out in this sort of hourglass shape coming out of the pole. You can see this is a common thing that we see, and it's probably a reference to the precessional wobble of the galactic core features. But in any case, no more conjecture on that. Let's expose the caption here. Feel free to pause the video. And this galaxy is at about 12 million light years. Here are the X-ray transient outputs from the supernova. That is the X-ray output of the pulsar, or whatever kind of star it is in the center of the supernova 2014J, located in Galaxy M82. Let's take a look at a different galaxy. Scratch that. Let's take a look at M82 in different spectra. So here is M82 in composite infrared spectra. We'll make that full screen for a moment. And Galaxy M82 is only about half the size of the Milky Way galaxy. Here it is on Pan-STARRS, which is optical bands D and Z. Some great features visible there in M82. And we'll look at it in X-ray as well. There it is in X-ray, a great image there. And you can see how different the X-ray spectra is from those other spectra I don't think this one shows up in... Yeah, we don't seem to have this one on UV, so bring this back into infrared on the 2-mass. There's the 2-mass image of M82. The true stars of the videos are our patrons, as they are increasing the probability these videos will continue to exist, be publicly visible, and free for all to view. Thanks, patrons. Our patrons help us out a lot, as they give us some financial incentive to create the videos. We make just this side of nothing to create them on YouTube, so please press the share button, press like, subscribe, comment, etc. Again, we need your assistance. Even if you're not willing to open up your cobweb-encrusted wallets, become a patron anyway, as some posts are not even requiring any payment. Some posts are public on the Patreon page, so maybe become a patron even without paying us a couple bucks a month for the earliest alerts, multimedia, and all kinds of other stuff. And that's today's cosmology segment. Let's get back to the space weather data here. We don't want the video to be too lengthy. Next, we're talking electron flux. And we see low levels around planet Earth, no charging hazards caused by that. There's the 1-year chart from Solon.info. Here's the 3-day chart from the Space Weather Prediction Center, as measured by the GOES-16. And this measurement takes place at the F ionosphere layer at about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here's the forecast model for electrons, and we're expecting a small downtick. Here's a diagram of the Van Allen belts. And here's the total electron content forecast. This visualization showing you electron density for the entire air column. And we do see a little bit of chaos here, a little bit of surprisingly high levels of electron flux at nighttime over certain parts of the planet, such as the Caribbean especially. I'll let it play through a second time. And your GPS would need to communicate through large dense blobs of electron flux, which can cause huge errors to your GPS data. Next, we'll look at the ionosphere, and we'll show an animated ionogram of this layer right here, just the F layer. The F layer of the ionosphere, located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here's the vibrational frequency of the ionosphere, otherwise known as an ionogram. We've been noting some anomalies, and let's see if they continue. The anomalies over the Pacific have subsided a little bit here. And let's bring up the latest image. Here's the latest image from 8:30 Universal Time. And we just did our meteorology segment. If you haven't checked that out, check out our playlists, youtube.com/smAsho/playlist. Here come bonus features, starting with the El Teide Observatory, the ground-based Hydrogen Alpha Observatory in El Teide, Spain. Again, we did see a large C-class flare happen while we did show prep today. And it came out of this area over here, sunspot 2840, or somewhere around that area. Here come additional bonus features in the form of the GOES-16 SUVI thematic map. And there are a little bit less filaments in between Earth and Sun right now, but there's a large coronal hole rotating in. Again, we can expect some geoaffectivity from that coming soon. Here's sunspot 2841, and it might even be sunspot 2842, so I'm not sure. This could be 2841, and this could be 2842. But in any case, this is already a beta-class sunspot. Likelihood of solar flares has gone up. Expect the radio flux to come up as well. Let's do a refresh and see how it's been turning out here. So these are two different groups. That's going to be 2841 and 2842 should be the names of those. Here are the magnetic fields. Again, that's a beta-class sunspot, raising the chance of significant solar flares. We'll close out the video with a 94 angstroms SDO video. And right at the end of the video, you should see a brightening right up here. That's the solar flare. And it looks like there's a little problem with the data here. Let me pull up a different image here. All right, so here's 193 angstroms, a different emission spectra of ionized iron, a different ionized state of iron's ultraviolet emission spectra. And we brought this up last because of the coronal hole. Major coronal hole down here. Certainly looks south pole oriented to me. So thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. May that solar wind be at your back.